Welcome to a journey into the unknown. Tonight, we explore three vanishing pathways where roads mysteriously disappear, places where reality itself seems to fray at the edges. We'll delve into the chilling tales of those who dare to tread these forgotten paths and never returned. Get ready to lower the lights, turn up the volume, and prepare to be drawn into the unsettling depths of our world. This is 3, the Vanishing Pathways Roads That Disappear. Horror story, and tonight we're venturing into the heart of darkness. Are you ready to confront the unknown? Our first stop takes us deep into the heartland of America, a desolate stretch of asphalt known only as Route 666. Locals whisper tales of a highway that seems to vanish into thin air, swallowing travelers whole, leaving behind only whispers and shadows. The stories always start the same. A lone car, headlights cutting through the thick, oppressive darkness, engine humming against the symphony of crickets and the distant howl of coyotes. The driver, weary from a long journey, glances at the clock, the red digits mocking him as fatigue gnaws at his eyelids. He rubs his eyes, trying to fight off the encroaching sleepiness. He looks up, expecting to see the familiar white lines guiding his way. But something's wrong. The road ahead, once a comforting ribbon of asphalt, has disappeared, swallowed by an impenetrable wall of darkness. Panic claws at his throat, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. He slams on the brakes, the screech of tires a jarring sound in the otherwise deafening silence. He's stranded. The air grows heavy, thick with a strange, unsettling energy. A chill wind whips through the car, whistling a mournful tune. The driver shivers, fear gripping him with icy fingers. He can feel eyes watching him, unseen presences lurking just beyond the reach of his headlights. The hair on the back of his neck prickles with a sudden, inexplicable dread. He tries to start the car, the engine sputtering and dying, as if some unseen force is draining its lifeblood. He fumbles for his phone, the screen glowing an eerie blue in the darkness. No signal. He's utterly alone, cut off from the world he knew just moments ago. He steps out of the car, the silence pressing in around him, suffocating him. He calls out, his voice a thin, reedy sound that is swallowed by the darkness. There's no answer, only the echo of his own fear. He shines his phone's flashlight into the abyss, the beam swallowed by the impenetrable darkness. Then he hears it, a sound that sends shivers down his spine. A low, guttural growl, emanating from the darkness just beyond the reach of his light. It's a sound that speaks of ancient hunger, of a darkness that predates humanity itself. He stumbles back, fear lending speed to his steps. They say that if you drive down Route 666 late at night, you might just find yourself on the other side of reality, stranded in a ghostly realm where shadows dance and whispers echo with the terror of those who have been lost before. Our next tale takes us to the windswept plains of the Midwest, where the stars shine brightly against the velvet canvas of the night sky. It's here, amidst the rustling cornfields and abandoned farmhouses, that we find the legend of Whisper Road, a phantom road that appears only at night, a shimmering mirage in the moonlight. It's said to materialize at the stroke of midnight, a ribbon of glistening asphalt cutting through the heart of nowhere. Locals whisper tales of this road, claiming it's a gateway to another realm, a place where time and space hold no meaning. They say that if you find yourself on Whisper Road, you'll be compelled to follow it, drawn by an unseen force. The road seems to stretch on forever, leading you deeper and deeper into the heart of the unknown. One moonless night, a young couple, lost and disoriented after their GPS malfunctioned, stumbled upon Whisper Road. The road shimmered before them, an invitation into the unknown. They had heard the stories, the warnings whispered by the locals, But desperation and a touch of morbid curiosity outweighed their better judgment. They decided to take their chances, their headlights cutting through the darkness, the only source of light in the vast emptiness. The car hummed along the smooth asphalt, the silence broken only by the low murmur of the engine. As they drove, the landscape around them began to shift, taking on an eerie, otherworldly quality. The familiar cornfields gave way to dense, ancient forests, the trees twisted and gnarled, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of decay and something else, something ancient and unknowable. The couple exchanged nervous glances, their earlier excitement replaced by a growing sense of unease. They continued down the road, the outside world fading from their memories, replaced by the hypnotic rhythm of the road and the strange, unsettling beauty of this unfamiliar landscape. Time seemed to lose all meaning, hours melting away like minutes. Then they saw it, a light in the distance, a beacon in the otherwise impenetrable darkness. Relief washed over them, the promise of civilization, of safety. They pressed on, eager to escape the oppressive atmosphere of the road. As they drew closer, the light grew brighter, revealing a small town bathed in the warm glow of streetlights. Buildings lined the road, their windows dark and empty, but the sight of human construction brought a sense of relief. They pulled into what appeared to be a deserted town square, the silence deafening. A chill wind whipped through the streets, whistling a mournful tune. The couple stepped out of the car, their eyes scanning the empty streets, their footsteps echoing in the silence. The town seemed deserted, frozen in time. The buildings were old, their paint peeling, their windows boarded up. A rusted swing set creaked eerily in the wind, its chains clanging against the metal frame. The silence was broken by a sound that sent shivers down their spines, a blood-curdling scream echoing through the empty streets. The couple froze, their blood turning to ice in their veins. They exchanged terrified glances, their hearts pounding in their chests. The scream was followed by another and another, each one more chilling than the last. The couple, their fear reaching a fever pitch, ran towards the source of the screams, their footsteps echoing on the pavement. They rounded a corner and came to a sudden halt, their eyes widening in horror. In the middle of the street, illuminated by the flickering light of a street lamp, a group of figures were gathered around something. As they drew closer, the couple realized with a sickening horror that the figures were not human. They were tall and gaunt, their skin stretched taut over their bones. Their eyes glowed with an eerie, unnatural light, and their teeth were filed to sharp points. The creatures were tearing at something on the ground, their movements savage, their growls guttural and filled with a hunger that chilled the couple to the bone. Chapter 3. The Disappearing Path. Our final destination takes us deep into the Appalachian Mountains, where ancient forests cling to the steep slopes and fog hangs heavy in the air. Here we find the legend of the Disappearing Path, a winding trail that seems to vanish into thin air, claiming those who dare to tread its path. Locals tell tales of a path that winds through dense undergrowth, barely visible beneath fallen leaves. It's a path that seems to call to people, beckoning them deeper into the woods. Many have ventured onto this path, drawn by its allure, but few have returned, and those who do bear the scars of their experience. One autumn afternoon, a group of hikers decided to venture off the beaten path. They had heard the stories, whispered warnings from the locals about a path that led to nowhere, but they dismissed them as mere superstition. The air was cool and crisp, the leaves a riot of colour. The sun filtered through the canopy, casting long shadows across the forest floor. They followed the trail, their laughter echoing through the trees. The path was narrow, winding through the dense undergrowth. They were explorers, charting their own course. As they ventured deeper, the trail grew fainter, the trees closing in around them. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. The group's laughter faded, replaced by an uneasy silence. They exchanged nervous glances, their earlier confidence waning. The forest seemed to press in around them, suffocating them. They continued on, their pace slowing, their eyes scanning the trees. But the forest seemed to stretch on forever, an endless maze of trees and shadows. They came to a fork in the path, two trails diverging into the undergrowth. They consulted their map, their brows furrowed in confusion. Neither path was marked. They argued amongst themselves, their voices growing louder, their frustration mounting. Finally, they decided to split up, agreeing to meet back at the fork in an hour's time. They exchanged uneasy goodbyes, their words swallowed by the oppressive silence of the forest. The first group ventured down the left-hand path. The trail was narrow and overgrown, forcing them to walk single file. The trees pressed in close, their branches scratching at their faces. They walked for what felt like hours, the silence broken only by the sound of their own footsteps. But there was no sign of their friends, no sign of the fork in the path. They called out to their friends, their voices echoing through the trees, but there was no answer. Panic began to set in, their earlier confidence replaced by a growing sense of dread. They retraced their steps, their hearts pounding in their chests. But the path seemed to twist and turn, leading them in circles. They were lost, hopelessly lost. Meanwhile, the second group had fared no better. They had followed the right-hand path, their steps slow, their eyes scanning the trees. The forest seemed to grow darker, the air thicker, the silence more oppressive. They, too, had walked for what felt like hours, but they had found no sign of their friends. They called out to their companions, their voices swallowed by the dense undergrowth. They, too, decided to turn back, their hearts heavy with a sense of foreboding. But the path seemed to shift and change, the trees closing in around them. As darkness began to fall, the two groups stumbled upon each other, their faces etched with relief and terror. These vanishing pathways remind us that some roads are best left untravelled, that some mysteries are best left unsolved. Have you ever encountered a road that seemed to vanish before your very eyes? A path that seemed to whisper your name, beckoning you into the unknown? Until next time, stay safe and beware the roads that disappear.